Hello and welcome to PCI Webinars. Today's webinar, Positive Tune-Up, 16 Signs That You Are More Successful Than You Think, with Andrew Sanderbeck. Andrew has been developing and conducting training seminars for libraries and library organizations for more than 10 years. He has presented web-based, online, and face-to-face sessions on management and leadership, customer service, and communication skills in the United States and numerous countries around the world. He's also the founder of PCI Webinars. So now I present to you our founder, coming to you today from Florida, Andrew Sanderbeck.
Thank you, Ann. Hi, everybody. Great to be with you, and actually great to be in Florida today. I understand the weather in North Carolina is not as delightful as here. So actually coming to you from Lakeland today to give you an idea where I am in the state. See a bunch of folks from Florida, and some Ohio folks have joined us as well. So thanks for coming on board. And I'm so pleased that you are taking time for a little bit of a positive tune-up. This is, I don't know, something that I have really found to be important in life is to take that time to remember these things for ourselves. And I had read an article, I think it was on LinkedIn, that had talked about the different ways that we may be able to see ourselves as more successful. And that's kind of what prompted the idea for me to put this program together for you today. Would you just please, in the discussion area, just give me a yes or a no that you are hearing me okay? I want to make sure that the technology is working where I'm at and that the sound is good on your end as we get into this. I am going to be asking you some different things in the discussion area. Thank you guys for typing in. I appreciate that. I've got some different questions for you as we go through these different areas today. So do be ready to share some of your thoughts in the discussion area when needed, or even when not needed, I guess, is fine. A couple of thoughts here on, well, just before we get into the 16 things, I've got some information from a study and also just some thoughts in some different areas here. I hope that we can frame up our time together. With regards to ambition, I would like to believe that the majority of us are ambitious, and many of you may see yourself that way as well. And I think if we are people that are ambitious, then there are going to be times that we're going to feel like we have failed. I am just kind of reflecting back in the past couple of years on some projects that I was involved with, and there have certainly been some ones that that didn't turn out the way that I would like them to, and you know, we could label them as a failure if we would like, and maybe you can take a few moments to reflect on some of those things that you have going on in your life. Lofty goals, I think, are a great thing to set. I think sometimes, though, that there are moments when we may not feel like we're living up to our expectations. I also believe that there's a lot of pressure around us, whether it's peer pressure or the pressure of others that want to tell us that we're not as successful as we need to be or should be, and so maybe that feeling of not living up to expectation can be reinforced. You know, some of the nicest people in the world who are trying to support us actually may be actually not helping us. One of the things that I've learned. So in the back of your mind, you may have that thought of, you know, well, maybe I'm not doing as well as I should have, and maybe you've bought into some of this crap, excuse me, this whole thing of, you know, having the most toys, and I have to have the newest car, and the biggest house, and a boat, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, there are some people that equate material possessions with success, and I get that, and I see it. I just don't buy it. And, you know, you may be in a different place with that. And, you know, either way, it's okay. I'm certainly one who doesn't believe there's a right or wrong way of looking at these things. I know that I just look at success differently. And I'm guessing that we all may have different perceptions of what that means. There was a survey, a study that was done by Strayer University And this one I thought was kind of interesting and wanted to share it with you. Their findings were that 90% of people living in the United States, they believe, 90% believe that happiness is a bigger indicator of success than power, possessions, or prestige. 90%. Looking a little deeper into the study, it also found that 67% of people define success as good relationships with family, friends, etc., and that 60% said loving what they do for a living was another indicator of success for them. Interestingly, 20% stated that monetary wealth was how they determined how successful that they were. So we can see there's a lot of different perspectives here of what success looks like to us. I want to dig a little deeper here and looking into, well, by the way, there's a great website called Life the Right Way that I've highlighted there with their logo. Had some fun looking through that. You may enjoy looking through some of the things that they're putting out there. One of the things I want us to be cautious of has to do with when it comes to how we define success or look at success, that many times our eyes and our egos can lead us astray. And what I mean by that is that sometimes it's hard to not feel like we're the most successful people because we don't have, these large houses or the expensive cars or the most influential friends. And maybe regardless of what you're achieving in life, there's always people with more. And this can make you feel like you're losing. And I hope it doesn't, but I can see it. And I've certainly felt that way in the past with what's going on. I do want you to remember this. The problem that you may be having or the feelings of not being good enough that you may be getting really have nothing to do with regards to a lack of things. It's not. It's believing that things are the indicators of your true success. I'm one who loves to collect experiences. Give me a yes or a no if you kind of understand that concept of collecting experiences. Just over in the discussion area, I think the movie that was out with the bucket list and these different experiences that the characters wanted to have in life was something that really I found to be pretty exciting. And so I do look at the different experiences and also just the small things, the daily joys. It's funny that I'm back in Florida, that I'm still looking forward to a sunset on the beach. And that really is a joy for me. And maybe a lot of people don't see it that way. But that's one that really just kind of gets me excited. Just to just have that few moments to enjoy something as simple as a sunset. And to me, that is a really nice feeling to have that. Another thing I want you to think about is real success is about who you are, and it's not about how far you've come. I think if you ever worry that you're not as successful as you should be, well, quite possibly you may be evaluating yourself against the wrong criteria. Sometimes I think a little reminder as to what we've really accomplished in life can be a very positive thing. If you wanted to and could step back for just a second and think about some of your accomplishments, I would guess you would see yourself as actually pretty successful with some of those things that you've done. I have a quote from Einstein there that I thought was pretty good about not becoming a man of success, but to become a man of value instead. And we can certainly, take that just out of man and include women as well. So what value do we offer to others? I think is always a fun question to ask in what we're doing. So if you want to share, what is one of what I guess you would see as an achievement or an accomplishment in life that you believe really is reflective of who you are, and you see that as a success? If you'd like to share that in the discussion area, that would be great. I will go ahead and start jumping into the 16 things here in just a moment. Let's do it now. Let's go in. And you can think about that question. So here are my 16, and let's start off with number 1, which is you are not the center of the universe. And I think that we've all known people that really act like they are the center of the universe. I remember working in radio, and there were a lot of egos that were running wild as a rock and roll disc jockey. And we had a saying about one of our disc jockeys, and that saying was that his ego walked in 6 feet in front of him whenever he came into the radio station or was at an event or whatever it was. And it was one of those really, I don't know, for me, kind of a yucky feeling. And it was like, that's certainly not who I am, and it's not who I want to be. And yet, there are times that I think that, you want to maybe feel like it's your day, or, that it's all about you. And I'm going to kind of take it the other way. I don't know that that would be how I would define success. I think true success requires us to be able to feel empathy, for instance, to realize that other people have, these important feelings and dreams, that they're just as important as ours. And actually, one of the ways of reminding myself that I'm not the center of the universe is understanding how important it is for them to succeed, and for me to find ways to help them to do that. So a couple comments here. This would go back to accomplishments. The teens I worked with a couple years ago are now successful. When a kid sees me in a store and say, "Look, Mom, there's the librarian." When my students understand, we may be discussing, and I'm not sure where that one was going, but so good. All right. So number one, and the question I would put out to you is, do you embrace the reality that life isn't about you? And I really believe that if you do, that is certainly one of the signs that you are more successful than you think. It's a bit of a dichotomy, I think, from time to time. I remember a friend of mine saying that it's pretty interesting that, we are all just this little speck in the universe, and yet we all have this great ability to make a difference. And that to me was kind of like, wow, because in essence, I'm nothing more than a speck of sand in the whole, the whole picture here. And yet there are ways that we all can go out and make a difference in what we do. All right, number two is your ability to stay positive. Your ability to stay positive. The quote that I like here has to do with when it rains, it pours. But soon the sun will shine again. So stay positive and understand that better days are on the way. One of the things that I do to help myself, and I'm going to ask you this question at the end of this section, but one of the things that I do to help myself to stay positive is to remind myself that everything in life is temporary. Everything in life is temporary. Over the weekend, I was playing in a pickleball tournament. And by the way, just give me a yes or no if you know what pickleball is. I'm kind of fascinated at this. It's actually one of the largest growing sports for people over 50 in the United States right now. And I'm seeing lots of no's. So you guys might want to look up pickleball when you have a chance and just kind of see what it's all about. But I was playing in a pickleball tournament, and we were in Athens, Georgia. And during the tournament, I managed to trip over my own feet in getting out of the way of a ball. And in doing so, I fell. And I apparently found a way to fall on my ribs. And, rib injuries are just a whole lot of fun. That's the only way I can describe it to you. Laying down, getting up, laughing, coughing, all of these things that I had taken for granted for a while. Ooh, you don't take them for granted for a while when your ribs are bruised. And so I also remind myself, this is only temporary. This is going to heal. It may take some time, and I cracked ribs some years ago, and I certainly understand some of the depth of this injury. And yet that did heal too. And so it's just a matter of understanding that it's temporary. It's a matter of taking a step back and saying, well, you know what? Maybe someone's going to help me lift that suitcase when I'm traveling. And you know what? you aren't going to play pickleball for a couple weeks. And it's okay, because indeed, in my mind, these things are temporary, and I can let them get me down, or I can choose to stay positive. And for me, I don't know. I hope that I, for the most part, can see life through that positive lens and what's going on. So look at your feelings about optimism. Look at how you feel about, having hope. Many people believe that those two things are actually very essential components of a happy life. And look at when you are dwelling on things that aren't going the way you want them to. It happens. It happens. I was recently speaking with someone that was fired from a job, and they were in shock, and it was quite a surprise. And then I look at, well, I've been fired in life. It happened to me quite a few years ago in a position that I was in, and let me see that in the discussion area as well. Anybody else been fired from a position in your life that's really quite a life changer? I think when that happens, just give me a yes or a no in the discussion area if you've ever had that opportunity to be fired in your life. Okay, got a yeses and nos coming in. Okay, very good. To me, it kind of goes back to that life is what happens, and then what you do with what happens to you. So did you let that allow you to become more bitter and resentful about what's going on? And the same thing with achievements that maybe you didn't, actually have happen, these goals that you set that didn't work out. To me, real success means that you're looking for the bright side and believing that even in the worst of situations, that you do have that ability to make that situation better. So if you're like me today and you're having trouble breathing because your ribs are hurting, and forget coughing and laughing and doing all those other things, I'm still looking at the bright side. I'm still looking forward to when I know this injury will heal and moving on from there. And I have a comment here, yes, a hard time, but was able to overcome it. There you go. So here's my question for you. I gave you my technique, which is to remember that everything in life is temporary. So my question for you is, what do you do to stay positive? What do you do to stay positive? Would you please share that over in the discussion area, just on some of the things that you've learned to do, or some of the things that you've taught yourself to do when you find that maybe life isn't as good or positive as you may want it to be. Our tech support guy, Brian, says, no TV. Isn't that interesting? And we've got putting things in perspective. That's actually one of the 16 that I have coming up. And I've got exercising and meditating. Certainly, I'm a proponent of both of those. I think there is great value in quiet time and quieting the mind and what's going on. Running, reading a great book. Boy, and even humor here, exercise and humor. I think humor can take us a long way as well. And I really like that ability to just observe ourselves from time to time as well. If I see that I'm getting real upset about something, just that ability to step back and just ask myself, gosh, Andrew, why are you letting this get to you? Why are you getting so upset about this? And that might break that cycle or that circle of stuff that's going on in your head. Don't worry, be happy. You can even play that song if you wanted to. I think that was Bobby McFerrin, if I remember right. All right, number 3, having to do with failure. And I want to start this one off with a question for you guys. And would you please answer this in the discussion area? How do you define failure? Because I think how we define failure is really an interesting indicator of what we do with it. So take a moment and think about that, and please share that in the discussion area. How do you define failure? Because I will tell you that in my almost 8 years of life now, my definition of failure actually has really changed quite a bit. Failure used to be one of the worst things in the world to me. And now I've got a very different look at what failure is. So Brian, our tech guy, says that failure equals giving up for good. Another definition we have is didn't succeed according to someone else's criteria. A lack of planning and time, another definition. Another one here, unable to live up to your expectations for yourself. Okay, good. I am not going to remember who gave me this definition that I want to share with you. And yet it has really shaped how I think about this term failure. The definition that was given to me is that the only way that you can fail at something is if you didn't learn anything. And so, in essence, it's really hard to fail if you go by that definition. So, failure means that you didn't learn, according to this, and I'm pretty sure it was a book that I'd read, but that was one of those things that really stuck out to me. In my notes, what I want you guys to look at here is, can we embrace these things we see as failures simply as an opportunity to learn something? And then to look at that and move on from there. Now, if you struggle with this perception that I'm putting out there, consider that you may never really experience true success until you learn to embrace failure. How many times have you failed at something and you saw that that was the step ladder to actually getting to the success that you were looking for? Or how many times did you experience something that you may call a failure or mistakes, and it actually showed you the way to success by showing you that you weren't doing it the most effective way, or that you were on the wrong path to getting done what you wanted to get done? Many times we find the biggest breakthroughs typically come when you're feeling the most frustrated and when you feel the most stuck. And let me hit the word stuck for you for a second here. First of all, and I may have Ann type this in if she's available, if you have not looked at the video Stuck on an Escalator that is on YouTube, would you please take time to do that? Once again, it's called Stuck on an Escalator, and it is on YouTube. It's a two-part video. It was an award-winning commercial from Canada, and it is a video that I show in as many workshops that I can when I'm doing face-to-face workshops. It is about two people that are riding up an escalator. The escalator stops, and they are stuck, and they start complaining, and they start yelling for help, and neither of them actually wants to walk off the escalator. And it really brings to mind areas in life where we may be getting stuck. And to me, getting stuck is actually kind of a natural occurrence. And it happens in organizations as well, not only individuals. And so it's really looking at and acknowledging that we're stuck, and then deciding what it is that we want to do differently. So if you are feeling that frustration, or if you're feeling that stuckness, many times that does help you to think differently about a situation, or maybe to look at it differently, or feel it differently. And in turn, you may actually see the solution that you've been missing. So if in life you have felt frustrated, or you have felt stuck, and you found a different way to move through that, then I would definitely say that that is a great sign of success in what we're doing. So thank you, Ann, for putting that title up there on Stuck on an Escalator. All right, with the next one having to do with keeping things in perspective, and we had a comment on this a little bit earlier. Where can I take you here? You know what? Sometimes bad things happen to good people. They just do. And for most of us, sometimes perspective can be a good thing. Sometimes things that we think are just horrendously bad, when we put them in perspective with some of the other things that are going on in life for people, like people that are trying to survive wars, or people that don't have enough to eat. And I'm careful with doing comparisons, but sometimes that perspective can help. I think that this can be very helpful for us. For instance, if you've locked your keys in your car, or maybe you just got passed over for a promotion, Well, it hurts. Locking keys in the car is inconvenient, and it might be even expensive to get that fixed. Yet, I think we can use these situations to help us to develop our perspective on things. And I put the 5x5 rule up on the screen for you there. And this was another technique that I was taught, was to ask myself, is this going to be important 5 minutes from now? Is this going to be important tomorrow? Is this going to be important next week? And that really does help us to put a situation in perspective by using time as a rule. So if you feel like you are mastering that ability to keep your problems in perspective, then I would suggest that you could mark that down as a huge success in life. That is a struggle for some people. And for those of us that continue to work on that craft of keeping things in perspective, good on us. Good on us. We're continuing to make process and progress in what we're doing. All right, number 5 has to do with you ask for help when you need it. Now, a big Andrewism here, if we wish to use that term, or an Andrew belief, is that I need your help are 4 of the most powerful words that we can use. Many people, however, can be shy when it comes to asking for help. Some people even would go past being shy and just say that they refuse to ask for help. Well, my perspective here is that if you are someone that refuses to ask for help, no matter how much you're struggling, that this could be a sign of an opportunity to grow. Asking for help means that you no longer feel like you have something to prove by being perfect. To me, it shows that you're not afraid to show people that you are learning about yourself, maybe discovering some weaknesses, and that you understand that no one truly succeeds by themselves. That alone, if you take that lesson away from this program today, could be worth a lot. No one succeeds alone. So I have a couple of quotes up there that you may want to consider, and maybe they'll resonate with you. You do not have to answer this in the discussion area, but the question that I came up in my head on this was, how comfortable am I asking for help? And I would even stretch that to another question, and that is, who are you comfortable asking for help to? Because I think part of the way of being really good at this is asking the right people for help. Sometimes we ask the wrong people, and we may not get what we're looking for in the process. All right, on to number 6. You realize that life is not a zero-sum game. And what I mean by that is that just because someone else achieves a big success, it does not mean that you have then lost something because they are successful. I do know people who look at life this way, and it's not something that I understand. If I didn't have a particularly big win this time, whatever that may be, I think one of the sure signs of success is the ability to celebrate others' achievements and to do so with sincere enthusiasm. Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talks about playing win-win with others. And I am a big fan of this. So when we are in a situation, can we find a way that both parties would get a win? Now, it's not going to be proportionate normally. You may have a much bigger win than I do, but that's a whole lot better than the outcome being a win-loss. So I look for this all the time. How can this be a win-win for all parties involved and not someone wins and someone loses? Because the truth is, no one likes to lose, at least that I'm aware of. So the question for you on this, when was the last time that you congratulated someone on their achievement? So would you please answer that in the discussion area? When was the last time that you remember congratulating someone on their achievement, whatever that achievement was? One comment here said last night. I can tell you that the last time that I did it was about 2.5 hours ago. I have a good friend in Sarasota that I will be going down to visit tomorrow. And she had let me know that she had received a silver medal in a pickleball tournament this past weekend. And I was excited to congratulate her on her achievement. That's a big deal for her. And I'm going to be very happy to celebrate with her when I get down there. So think about helping others celebrate their achievements. To me, that's a great sign of showing others that you are successful as well. This next one I had a lot of fun writing up for you. This has to do with successful people can tell the difference between drama and excitement. Between drama and excitement. So I guess a good question is, what's the difference? So we can start there. So let's go to relationships that we are in. Do we find a stable relationship to be somewhat boring? Do you think that you need these different kinds of drama in your life for things to go on? My thought is, and I like to live in a drama-free world as much as I can. Excitement, though, is kind of fun. So is drama the kind of thing that you are doing your best to, in essence, minimize or to keep it in the past? One of the things to look at is, do you prefer stability and depth in life to drama? If you do, then I would suggest that this is another way of looking at how you are succeeding in life. And the question that I came up with for this one was, have you left the need to be involved in drama behind in the life that you live? Brian says drama is manufactured, excitement is organic. And one of the things that I know is going on around us is lots of drama. There's lots of drama in family, there's lots of drama at work. Patrons bring us lots of drama. The media is certainly giving us lots of drama. Take a look at your social media pages. You're going to see lots of drama there as well. You know, I think one of the decisions we need to make is just how much drama do we want to allow into our life, and how much drama do we want to be a part of? My recommendation is to try to minimize that as much as you can, because I look at it as you need your energy for other things, not to be involved in all the dramas of what's happening. This one is a real interesting one with regards to you no longer care what other people think about you. This one is a tough one, and I really have looked at this one in many different lenses and many different levels. I thought it was interesting. There's a quote that I read that said, "You only worry about what other people think when you still feel like you have something to prove." And I can certainly see that. I guess conversely, maybe one of the ways of knowing that you're at a pretty good level of confidence is when you don't have to worry about that anymore, or when you're true to yourself and your principles and you're satisfied with what you have going on in your life. And maybe you know that you've reached a level of success when you really understand that other people's opinions are nothing more than just their opinion. That they truly have no effect on your reality, that they will not change who you are or who you are becoming. And yet, I also respect the fact that, there are people that we work for, and those people may have influence over us. And yes, we probably need to have some focus and care on what they are thinking about us. I mean, heck, some people can get us fired. Some people can, write a bad evaluation for us and what's going on. So I do believe that there's a line here, and yet I also want us to be clear really where that line is. A lot of people who want to give you their opinion about you I'm going to suggest that they really don't matter. And our focus needs to be on those that really do matter versus those that do not. So if you are getting better at this, then that's another check mark for you to put into your successful box and what's going on. Number 9 on my list has to do with, some people have called this, I believe it's called the Serenity Prayer, which is really a good one. And this is something that I have learned to remember in life, which is to accept the things that I cannot change, to have the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So how are you doing on this one? I do believe that there is a big difference between pessimism and practicality. So let's say that you're in Florida, where I am right now, and there's a hurricane headed your way. Well, quite frankly, there's not a lot you can do to stop that hurricane. However, once you accept that the hurricane is coming, you can start working on things to limit the effects of it. Let's go outside of weather and let's talk about your organization is reducing staff. Let's say that there have been budget cuts and people are getting laid off, and guess what? You're one of them. Well, every moment that you would spend in denial or being upset is going to delay whatever is going to be waiting for you in the next step of life. So our ability to move on only when we start exploring our options and then looking at and making plans to change what we can. So part of what I would challenge you to do and continue to do is take responsibility for changing the things that you don't like about your life. And to me, people that do that show that that truly is one of the big indicators of success. So can we get our focus off of the things that we cannot change? And it's easy sometimes to get caught up in what that is, and putting our focus on what it truly is that we can change or that we can control. So honestly assess yourself on this and how you're doing with your ability to accept what you can't change. And my belief is there's a lot of that is out there that I simply just cannot change. And maybe I may have a little bit of influence, and that is another thought I guess we could build on. Number 10 has to do with you have a plan. Success many times is built on structure and having a long-term plan to get us to where we want to be. So do you have a framework to follow in your life when it comes to reaching the goals, accomplishing the things that you want to do? If you do, then I would suggest you are already pretty successful. Many people do not plan ahead. So my question for you is simply this: do you have a plan? And then I would follow that up with an even better question. And that is your plan in writing? Many people tell me that they have a plan and it's in their head. I'd like to see it in writing. I think writing solidifies it. I think writing it makes it more real. Got a quote here in the discussion area. It says, "Chance favors the prepared mind." And does that go along the same line of, it seems like the luckiest people are the ones that have worked the hardest and are most prepared? Because I've heard that quote as well. So do we have a plan? Do we have a plan in the different areas of life? Because life changes. I'm pretty confident that we all are aware of that. And when those changes happen, you may have to adapt your plan as well in what you're doing. So once again, my key questions for you: do you have a plan? And do you have it in writing? And if you do not, then that could be something for you to look at moving forward from this webinar today. I'm a big believer in number 11, which is that successful people are socially active. Success can come to us in many different ways. And certainly I want you to get away from that success has to do with title or that it has to do with the amount of your paycheck. I think if you're able to get involved in many positive and different situations with a variety of social circles, that you can really start to point to healthy and harmonious life. And I will tell you that the successful people that I have been around are not going to stick around toxic personalities. So look at what you have going on in your social circles. Are there people that you need to let go? Are they toxic? Are they dragging you down? Might be time. I have talked about having an annual house cleaning of friends, and that's something that I learned years ago, where every year in November, I look at the friendships that I have, and I look at how those friendships are doing, and people grow apart, and it's okay. And sometimes I will make the phone call and say, it looks like we're growing apart, and it looks like that's okay. And maybe, we need to either look at redefining our friendship or just letting it go. And that's all right. So my question for you is, how are you socially active? Would you please share that in the discussion area? How are you socially active? While you're thinking about that and typing that in, I'll give you a couple of my socially actives. One is definitely pickleball. The number of people that I have met, pickleball is probably one of the most social sports I've ever been involved with, and it has led to incredible opportunities, not only for myself in my profession and the work that I do, but also personally. And the growth that I have had in the past 18 months is really something. I am socially active in my community in different ways. I'm also what I would call very socially active in the American Library Association and in some of the roundtables and groups that I work with. So how are you socially active? So we have enjoying picnics, cooking, movies, theater with friends. Yes, friends are a great opportunity for us to really get comfortable being socially active. There are some people that are not comfortable with this. All right, what about respect? Number 12 on my list was that you show or offer mutual respect. To me, success tends to come from our experiences in life, including going through the stress and the difficulties that come our way. So if we truly understand the value of treating others with respect, then I would recommend and state that you already are harnessing one of the most important aspects of success. And that is by offering respect, by being respectful of others. I hear many people say that there's a whole lack of respect going on in our world. I don't know. That may be the people that are in your circle and what you're seeing. And yeah, we may see it in our workplaces or well. By the way, how many of you would love to put that sign up in your organization, be nice or leave? I would love to do that. I don't think that it would probably fly with administration, but that's okay. Be nice or leave. On to the next one. I see we've got some people typing in. You possess confidence without arrogance. The big difference between a successful person and someone who believes they are successful is the way that they conduct themselves. So are you someone that can show humility for others? Are you someone who can inspire those who are struggling? If so, I would suggest that you already are successful. Now, my question for you on this one is, do you believe that people see you as confident? And I want to focus on, do you see yourself as confident? On this one, I want to focus on, do people see you as confident? Because sometimes our perception of ourselves may not be reality. So it's interesting to look at how other people may view us. Now, it was interesting, there was a, okay, what's this? I like the sign. have one to sell. So now if you are grouchy, irritable, or mean, there's a $10 charge. I like that too. That goes back to that be nice or leave type thing. And then there was also a cafe in France that gave you a lower price for your coffee if you said please, and an even lower price if you said please and thank you. And if you didn't do any nicety, then you got way overcharged for coffee. Let's see. Yes, I believe others see me that way, but I have trouble believing it. Okay. Well, then I would suggest that that is work for you to do. What do you need to do for you to feel more confident about yourself? Which is actually going to tie into one of the last on the list here of things to help us to continue to see ourselves as successful. There was a webinar that I did, and I think, probably 2 months ago. Maybe, no, it was probably even longer than that. And I got the feedback that that is sent out, and one of the comments was about myself as the presenter was that I have trouble listening to this presenter because he is very arrogant. And I thought, wow, I have never, in my memory, I do not remember ever being told that I am arrogant. And so that was an opportunity for me to step back and to look at how I perceive myself. And I want to believe also, kind of like the comment that was made in the discussion area, I want to believe that others see me as confident. And also, I want to believe that whenever I'm putting on a program, that I have done the work so that I do feel confident about what I am doing. And yet it was very interesting to receive a comment that had to do with that the presenter, me, was arrogant and that this person has felt that way about the different programs that he or she has attended. So it could be that that is their perception. It could be that they process confidence as arrogance. However, it was kind of a nice reflective piece for me. And I also remembered that, that you can't make everybody happy. I also remember that people see things through their lens, and that also is true in life. So when those things come your way, I would recommend that you just stop for a second and see if there may be any truth in it for you. Certainly, if you keep hearing it over and over again, well, that could be an indicator that there might be some strength behind that. But I was telling my wife about that comment. I thought, wow, that really kind of grabbed me. I just, had never seen myself that way. And sometimes people make comments that may lead us to reflect, and that's okay. So, possessing confidence without arrogance, definitely a sign that you are more successful than you think. And then tying into what we're looking at here with how are you striving to improve? This is my number 14. So as I'm going through this, I want you to think about what is one area in your life that you would like to improve upon. And if you want to type that in and share that in the discussion area, that would be great. In this area, I want you to be aware of falling into the trap that believing that either you have made it or that you just knocked that thing out of the park and how great you are, et cetera, et cetera. Instead, can you take the perspective of looking on how I do it a little better the next time, even if you were spectacular in what you just accomplished? To do that, to me, signifies that you are setting yourself up to be a long-term success. I had a friend who once said, "You are never as great as your greatest moment, and you will never be as bad as your worst moment." And I always thought that that was really an interesting way of looking at life. There are times that you just hit it out of the ballpark, and there are times that you strike out. And yet, those are kind of like the either ends of the scale. And the reality of life is that normally most things fall within those two parameters that have been set up. The question is, do you look to strive to improve? And so maybe today you can leave with one area that you would like to improve upon in your life. All right, number 15 has to do with discipline. Discipline. Where I'm tying this in with the topic of success has to do with taking what we have learned in the past, having the discipline to not make the same mistakes again and again and again. And I really feel that if we learn how not to make those same mistakes and learn how to make better decisions, that is certainly vital to us as we continue to create our long-term successes. So my question for you in this area is this: are you disciplined enough to realize when you are making the same mistake again and again? Sometimes we are not aware. And that's really where I'm guiding you with that question. So, are you disciplined enough to realize when you are making the same mistake again and again? There's another quote that I love that says that the lesson tends to come our way again and again until we get it. I did my Angry Customers Suck program for the Tampa Bay Library Consortium a few days ago, and we were talking about some of those difficult, angry customers, patrons that we have that are coming into our building. And I had one attendee, and I've heard this before when I've done this workshop, that says, it seems like whenever somebody angry comes in, they just seek me out, and somehow they keep on finding me. And I thought to myself, they probably are. And that's probably because you have not yet learned how to handle that situations and those situations so that they do not upset you, so that you have yet to find the way to confidently handle those situations. And so life says, oh, cool, you haven't figured it out yet? Let me keep giving you chances. So here comes another problem, same problem, different face that walks into the building. I have a comment here that says, I count on my friends and coworkers to help me to be aware of when I'm making the same mistakes. It's nice to have that backup, I would agree. And I would also count on myself as well. So what situations are happening again and again that are coming your way that maybe you need to look at? That would be an area of improvement. And then also, do we have the discipline to realize that those things are going on? All right, my last one for you has to do with your health. I do happen to believe in what Gandhi is saying there, that your health truly is your real wealth. So when I look at health, there are a couple areas I would look at. Number one is recognizing the harmful activities that are stopping you from achieving the successes, from the brighter future that you are working for, from accomplishing the dreams that you have set out. Those harmful activities could be smoking, they could be excessive drinking, excessive eating of foods that are not healthy for you, not taking the time to exercise, not taking the time to meditate, to be quiet. When you understand that leaving all of the bad behaviors behind is actually going to help to turn you into a stronger individual that will have greater drive and greater willpower to help you achieve the successes you want, then to me, that is another indicator that you are definitely getting a check mark in the successful box. Pickleball, which you've heard me mention a few times, has become that opportunity for me to exercise that was not in my life. So to exercise, and it's very cardio, lots of running and moving side to side, and pickleball, for those of you that said no, has many of the features of tennis, where you're hitting backhands and forehands and overheads and different things like that. It's actually played on about a third of a tennis court in size and has a net. And you mainly play doubles, but still get very good exercise with that. However, also being aware of the foods that you eat. I happen to have a love of chocolate. Just give me a yes or no if you have a love of chocolate in the discussion area. We just went through Valentine's Day, and one of the gifts that I received was chocolate-covered strawberries. It's a nice gift. The reality is I don't need the chocolate. Oh, but it's dark chocolate, Andrew. Oh, please stop that. So let's make good decisions about our health. Because truly, as Gandhi says, your health is your real wealth. And I'm going to challenge you to remember that without your health, I'm not even sure that you'll get to enjoy the success that you want to achieve. So those are my 16 for you. I'm interested to know over in the discussion area, did any of those 16 really stand out for you? And I'd love to see which one or ones really stood out for you if you could put that over in the discussion area. So of the 16 that we covered, did any of those really stick out for you? I'll give you a quick review. You're no longer the center of the universe. You stay positive. You know that failure isn't forever. You keep things in perspective. You ask for help when you need it. You realize that life isn't a zero-sum game. You can tell the difference between drama and excitement. You no longer care what other people think. You accept what you can't change and you change what you can. You have a plan. You are socially active. You offer mutual respect. You possess confidence without arrogance. You strive to improve. You have discipline, and you take care of your health. So go ahead and put those over in the discussion area. I'm going to bring Ann back in, and we will go ahead and wrap it up. I see a comment here about staying positive. Better days are on the way, which in my mind is the reminder of everything in life is temporary. All right, Ann, take us away.
Thanks, Andrew. Talking about health, and we're droning on about chocolate-covered strawberries here.
So I see drama versus excitement, confidence plus humility and a plan, accepting what you cannot change, keeping to the plan are some of the comments that are coming in on things that they liked. So I'll put up my thank you, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
It's interesting that everybody picked something different. Right, any other questions for Andrew or comments anyone would like to make before we shut it down? Andrew, great job. As I said to Brian in our little private chat, you and your lists, you always have great lists.
I am a list person. What can I say? I like it. Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Great webinar. We hope you all enjoyed it. And we'll see you again soon. Have a good afternoon, everybody.